There's a certain newspaper office, and some workers decided that there's a certain time of year, which the article will come up and you'll find out. There's a certain pointed time of the year during their job in which they've decided this is when we're going to go on strike. And before I finish, let me apologize again for the noise in the background. Why people won't like to make noise when it's going on 6 o'clock at night is a mystery to me. I don't know why it's loud here. There was a time when it wasn't in this neighborhood. So the strike again made 95% approval. And the employees are saying on this particular so-called important day, because I'll let you interpret once you see the title of the article whether it is or isn't important to you. They are demanding that the following things are met in order for them not to strike: a 4-day work week, increased pay, unlimited sick leave, paid time off for pet bereavements, trigger warnings around the news, banning scented products in break rooms, job security for foreign employees on visas, banning machine learning, that means AI technology, surrogacy and fertility funding, cab fare home, and wellness program. Here comes the article in a little bit. If you are the employer, what on this list is reasonable and what on this list is unrealistic? See, the start of this year was relationship list, right? You got to buy me this, and this. You got to maintain my pedicures, my body waxes and all this stuff, because if you want me to look good for you, you should pay for it. Despite the fact that the men that these women ask to pay for these things are not their husband. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying, okay, to offend anyone. I just want y'all to think about stuff before you ask. There are some reasonable things on this list, but in my opinion, 5 of these things are unreasonable. Oh, and I forgot to add that in addition to that, they're also wanting to rectify the gender pay gap and also disparities between white and non-white employees. I didn't add that one, I don't believe. Let me get into the 5 that I personally feel are unrealistic. Number 1, unlimited sick leave. That's a hard no for me. Define what unlimited sick leave should be. Because somebody can sit and feign sickness and be getting a paycheck and not really be sick, and everybody else has to carry their work. Come on, if you have a policy like unlimited sick leave, I can pretend to have the flu for 2 weeks with no doctor's note and be chilling in Tahiti. And don't say some people aren't going to try it, because they are. Okay? It is not budgetarily realistic for a company to give unlimited sick leave, okay? Only if you get something like long-term COVID or you get cancer, something severe. Not, oh, that's just carte blanche and you can automatically take it. No, that is a hard no. That's the first one. The second one is the trigger warnings around the news. If you're going to work around a newspaper where you know the news is not realistically going to be sunshine and rainbows, why are you asking for trigger warnings? Now, see, that's like a firefighter saying, I don't mind getting suited up and going to the scene, but I'm not going to fight the fire. The fact that life can be rough sometimes, that life can be sad, is just part of living. And Mind you, this isn't the editorial staff that's doing this. I forgot to tell you, it's the software engineers, the tech people at New York Times, not the actual editorial people. So you don't work in editorial near the sad stories. You just assist with the tech with it, and yet you think trigger warning should be put around things. If someone's a parent, they should be looking out for their own kid if that's what you're worried about. And if you're an adult, you need to build resilience. And if you haven't, go seek therapy. Trigger warnings around the news is just a hard no. Job security for foreign employees on visas, that's a hard no. How can any workplace, okay, in the United States guarantee a foreign employer permanent work when that person is not even a United States citizen? Aren't you at this point asking the New York Times to break the law? I mean, do y'all think about this stuff before you come up with it, or what? Number 4, surrogate and fertility funding. Absolutely not. You're adults. If what I read is true and your average salary is $190K a year, you're at the top tier of people living in the city of New York. And don't tell me, oh, that's not enough money and the cost of living. Learn to cut back. The ideal that you're telling people to take responsibility for your body autonomy, something you should be doing for yourself. No. They should not fund that for you. Now, once you do the surgery itself, if you want time off for to rest and heal, then I'm all for that. But the fact that they have to fund it, no. The 5th and final one that I have an issue with is the wellness program. What is wellness to you? See, this article was vague, so that's just one of the ones I have an issue with because you're not specifying. Are you asking for an hour or an hour and a half to work out during your shift so that you can have lunch and go work out? That would make sense. Are you asking to be able during your working hours to have some time set aside to see a mental health professional? That makes sense. Because people really can be functioning members of society and have a mental illness. And there's nothing wrong with making a little leeway for that. But my issue with the wellness program is that you all want these people to take care of you, but you're not defining exactly what wellness is. If it's one of the 2 examples I listed, maybe, or 3 or whatever, maybe. Here's my thing, and I don't mean to be mean, because the ultimate goal of these people is that they're asking to be protected from artificial intelligence and a guarantee that their jobs are safe. See, the problem with that is I didn't get to look this up. That's not going to help you in any way, form, or fashion, because if New York State is an at-will employee state or have any at-will laws, there's nothing stopping them from giving you a resignation and replacing you with someone who would gladly want $190K a year salary. Kind of a deafening silence, is it? You see, I'm all for there needing to be reform in a lot of workplaces, but what your bosses are not Santa Claus nor Daddy Warbucks. And we don't live in a fairy tale. You don't get to get everything you want. Again, there are things on this list that are highly reasonable things to discuss. But even amongst the gender pay gap and the gap and the race gap, their own employer came out and said, to their knowledge, there's no problems in that area. Your workplace is about you working, not about you getting in your emotions. And I get it. I think for those of you who believe in workplace family, because this is what this sounds like, which I in no way subscribe to. You're trying to help your fellow co-workers, but in the process, you're also hurting them. Your employer is your employer, okay? There's a separation, and although some want you to have a great quality of life, they're not Santa Claus that you can hand them a list of demands and be like, oh, if you don't do it, we say this time of year. La la la. This is one of the biggest newspapers in the United States. You don't think these people are smart enough to go meet with their lawyers and know how to handle you expeditiously? Did you even study the labor laws of the state of New York before you did this? Because there's a tad difference between what you think you deserve and what the law in your state says. If New York has any semblance of at-will laws, y'all are in some deep crap. I didn't get to look it up, to be honest, so anybody from there can tell me. I know Washington State does. See, here's the problem. We all want to open a book and all be enchanted and all be happy and think that things are one big fairy tale and we all can be hugged and cuddled and that's the end of it. But on one hand, we have a society that is self-aware of the past and want to rectify and fix things, and I understand that. But there's a fine line between the other half of saying you want to fix things, but at the same time being entitled, spoiled, and filled with self. So much so that you think someone owes you something, no matter how outlandish the request. Your employers are your employers. They're not Daddy Warbucks and they're not Santa Claus. Snap out of your fairy tale.